Hi friends, hi. So this whole video blogging, wait, let me take my glasses off. I get really distracted by the reflection. So anyway, one of the things that I've thought about that I would like to talk about, that was a lot of words. I'm really tired. Anyway, so someone asked me, probably, no, y'all know, I don't know what time is right now. Anyway, um, someone had asked me about genre work. Dun, dun, dun. So, uh, one of the things that I've struggled with pretty much my entire career has been that both artistically and as a reader, I'm not very attached to genre at all. If a book or a story seems like it'll be cool, I'll probably read it. I do have my preferences, um, but I write whatever. And it's funny, many years ago, like, maybe 1999 or so, I took a writing class. And I was so excited. I saved up for like 6 months to take this fucking class. And I wrote this little like revenge Thelma and Louise type thing. And I remember the feedback I got from the instructor was mainly that I needed to pick a genre and stick with it because while he appreciated my very literary vocabulary, the story itself just wasn't, couldn't support it. I was like, it's fucking bullshit. Like, that's stupid. I don't like it. And that was really kind of the start of me just writing. Because that's what it is. Like, I just write. Sometimes I start a story and I think that I'm going in one direction and then it turns into something else entirely, or I lose control of it and then it's just like not what I planned at all. But sometimes that works out. Sometimes it's shit, which is as it should be. But to answer the actual question of how you as a creator decide, what you're going to do, I think that a good part of that is going to depend on what your ultimate goal is. Now, if you want to be a bestseller, you're trying to hit that New York Times bestseller list, you don't want to listen to a word I have to say. However, I think that if what you're thinking about, is the craft and all of that stuff, um, ignore genre. Fuck genre. Who cares? Who gives a shit? Write it. Write the thing. There's no rule that says that if you wrote a sci-fi story once, you have to only ever write sci-fi stories. I'm a big fan of experimentation. So y'all know I have my little Patreons, and for the urban fantasy one, that's literally what it is. It's just me playing with this concept of urban fantasy and, figuring out what parts of it I like, how do I write it? How do I incorporate a magical system? How do I, create characters that are both human and magical? And that's what it is. It's play. I One of the problems I have with a lot of writing instruction tends to just, it's also constipated. It's so, oh well, if you don't do this way, and I think for me, especially if you read my last blog post about not really seeking publication at this point, um, it's because I just, a lot of these arbitrary literary rules are just boring to me and I have no use for them at this point. I think that that's also been something that I've kind of struggled with because when I was, publishing a lot, especially in the short fiction markets, you know, people really enjoyed them, but a lot of those stories weren't necessarily the stories that I wanted to tell. They were the stories that I knew would get published. And there was a big difference in that for me. So during this time, a lot of my stories were they were kind of edgy for a lot of the markets that I was published in. A lot of the feedback that I got during those times was that, the editors argued or that they were uncomfortable, but they were just not edgy enough so to make them reject them, if that makes sense. Uh, that body of work I am very, very proud of. There was a period of time where I had like an 87% acceptance rate or something like ridiculous like that. Like for short fiction, that's fucking insane. Um, and it was great. It was fun. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing that. Um, but for the last couple of years, what I've noticed, and I think that this was also part of what has kind of led me to wanting to divest in this way, is that I don't I don't care. Like a lot of the you know, I just don't care. I don't care if my traditional white Western literary canon white stories are, if they're not adhering to those rules, it doesn't mean that they're not good literature. Um, my decision here is not really coming from a place of nobody likes my work. I suck. My stories are bad. Uh, you know, um, we're not doing that because I know that's not true. Like, I can write a damn good story, and I know that. And for me, I'm bored with trying to force my square peg into the round hole. And it's interesting that I've reached this point because one of my favorite writers, Hubert Selby Jr., he wrote Requiem for a Dream, The Demon, um, a few other books. So if you look at his books, he does not use proper punctuation at all. And he did that purposefully. It wasn't a mistake. And I remember reading that when I was quite young. And the concept that he made the decision, and at the time he was broke, he was unknown, he wasn't getting published, he was a guy who survived living in a fucking iron lung, and he wasn't getting notoriety, he wasn't rolling with he wasn't rolling into Hollywood for a little tete-a-tete with famous people. So thinking about that, and that's been in here for 25 30 years at this point. I think I finally reached the point where I feel like I've mastered enough of my craft and the way that I do it to really, really fuck with it. Like, that's what I enjoy these days. I enjoy writing things that on the surface are one thing, but then there are layers of things going on, and the ways that I'm using language and the choices I'm making with character and all that stuff. And it's just not what what a lot of folks want to publish these days. And I've come to that conclusion because a lot of the feedback that I've gotten for the last few years is that a lot of editors have really enjoyed the work. I got a rejection right before, I want to say right after Thanksgiving, and the editor was effusive, saying, I really love this story. I think it's cool. It was interesting. Unfortunately, it's not right for us, which I think that especially when you're a marginalized person, and there's something to that when you get that sort of, I love your work, but we don't love your work. Our readers probably won't like this work, which is fine. It's their choice, obviously. But even with a lot of my reading, I still read a good amount of literary magazines. When I think about it, I read a lot of short fiction. Short fiction is still my one of my favorite things. I love to make it. I love to read it. But what I'm doing is not what is going on right now. And that's, um, I could be upset about that, but quite frankly, I'm not. I feel empowered. I feel free of, sort of, I'm shedding the last vestiges of this box. No, fucking mixed metaphors. Oh my God. Let me start over. So I feel like I'm climbing out of the box. I'm getting off the treadmill. Um, I'm respecting my art enough to let it be what it is and not hate it for what it is, because I don't hate it. I don't. No, I think it's cool. Uh, my most recent rejection, I think, was a general one. It was very fast. It was really good. But I went back and I read some more of the magazine that I'd submitted to, and I completely get it. I understand why basically any of my work right now would just not really fit necessarily, and that's not a bad thing. Um, Given my years of experience with bullshit with agents and, you know, the things that I've heard from the uh, famous, from the, not famous, but like the author track that we're all supposed to be on, right? Um, what I create isn't really what is wanted, and I'm not saying that that it's readers or marketability, because quite frankly, I feel like if you believe in a book or whatever, you'll find a way. So that's not it. I think for me, it's just that given the sameness of a lot of the critiques that I've heard, and dealing with, like, there was that period when I was trying to get an agent. There was a, tickle of a book deal back in the day. Um, many of them have all said the same things, and they're not bad things. That's kind of the part that I think that screwed me up for so many years, is that they're not bad. They're just what they are. And it almost always comes down to, well, if you tone this down, and if you don't do this, and if you clean up your social media, and, all of those things that, people that you hear when you're not nice. Well, not nice, but when you're not presentable to certain markets. um, I don't care anymore. I don't, that dream doesn't belong to me right now. And it's so freeing. Like, I'm a free motherfucker. Like, y'all know, if you've known me for any period of time, you know that, yeah, I absolutely write what the fuck I want to write. But now I've removed and added pressure. Um, I've taken away this like framework that I was trying to work in, that I didn't create and I didn't really want to be in. Like, I didn't want to work inside that framework, because it's a lot of effort for what? For what? For nothing. So, and it wasn't satisfying. That was the other problem, is that a lot of the work that was more well received and publishable, it wasn't what I felt was my best work. So, no, I'm not retiring. I'm not going to only do one thing. Um, I, because the fact is, I'm gonna write whatever it is anyway, and that's also something I've come back to for 15 years, is that I'm gonna do it anyway. So, being that I do have the privilege of having a day job, so I don't have to rely on Patreon. I don't have to rely on trying to get the big bylines. I don't have to rely on these things. And I don't have to look to them to help me glow up in life. You know, yeah, would it be awesome to secure the bag with my writing? Fuck yes, it would. Yes, 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 bitch. Like, do I still daydream about being on that radio show Bookworm and being interviewed by Michael Rosenblatt? Yes, I do. No, not Rosenblatt. Silverblatt? I don't know. I can't remember. Yes, I do. Do I imagine those things? Of course. But I'm not putting pressure on myself to make, to only, to one track it and go for that. Because, quite frankly, I, why? Why should I? I don't have to. I don't want to. I'm not going to. So that's what it is. To quote one of my favorite things that has ever been said about writing, from the Rumpus back in the day, the Dear Sugar column, write like a motherfucker. You want to write a romance story? Write a romance story. You want to write some fan fiction? Write some fan fiction. Write a poem, write a limerick, write a birthday song. The thing is you don't have to write one thing. Do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be that serious. I swear. Okay. Oh, goddamn. I just blabbed on forever. I didn't mean to make this long. I'm going to try again soon. I don't know. If you'd like it, let me know, I guess. I don't know. What the fuck am I doing? I don't know. I'm freaked out. Okay, anyway, I love you, friends. Go forth, go make something, go enjoy being a creative person, and do what the fuck you want to do.